There are new questions about a payment offered by the developer of a condo building constructed very close to the one that collapsed in Surfside, Florida. The Washington Post reports that they offered the Champlain Tower South Condo Association $400,000 not to fight the construction of their new high-rise and not to talk about it. Beth Reinhard is a reporter at the Washington Post. She was part of the team that investigated this story, and she is with us now. So this is very interesting because while this condo was being constructed, some of the people living in the South Tower said that they felt vibrations, and they were complaining about the vibrations in the building. Why did the developer of the other building, the other condo that was being constructed, why did the developer offer $400,000 to the condo?
I don't know that we can get into the minds of the developer, but the deal was that they would give $400,000 to the folks at Champlain Towers in exchange for them keeping quiet about the annoyances of the building, the dust, the noise, the styrofoam that was flying into their pools, the vibrations that made some folks uncomfortable. A lawyer for the condo association told them that they didn't think this was enforceable, this, sort of a hush money payment essentially. And so the deal was never closed.
Wow. How could building this other high-rise so close to that condo, how could that have affected it?
Yeah, I don't think we know that. Right now, of course, everything is on the table because this is, pretty much unprecedented in America that a building like this would just fall down. So that is one of many factors I think they're going to look at. And, experts that we've talked to suspect that when they finally do determine the cause, that it is likely to not just be one single cause, but a confluence of factors. And so this is one of the many factors that they will be looking at.
So you sort of touched a little bit on what the residents of Champlain Tower South were complaining about during the construction of this building. I know that your team sort of dug into that. I'm wondering, before, when the plans were just sort of being developed, were there concerns from those living in the Champlain Towers? And then while the construction was happening, what were they saying?
So while the construction was happening, they were scooping styrofoam out of their pool and taking pictures of it and sending it to the building department. They were filing complaints with the building department. But, this land right along the coast in Florida is, of course, very, very desirable property. And if you drive down A1A, the main drag, you will see condo after condo after condo. So it's certainly not unusual to have buildings close together on such a valuable strip of property. Everyone loves the view of the water, and it's a very desirable place to live. But because of the complaints that had been registered during the construction, I think that it will be looked at as a possible factor.
So is it common for developers to make these kinds of deals, and how could this affect legislation going forward?
So experts that my colleagues talked to said they were surprised to see this kind of offer being made in the middle of construction, that usually a developer will try to make that offer at the outset so as to, quash any opposition that might come up. Developers don't like that to happen as their projects are going up. So the timing was unusual, according to the experts that we talked to.
I don't know if your team sort of looked into this or not, right? I know in my neighborhood, if anyone wants to build a building, it's months and months of wrangling. The people who live in the neighborhood, they want meetings, they want plans, they want input, and usually they do not want more people living in the neighborhood. You talk about how desirable this section is for people to live. I would think that the residents already living there would have said, we don't want another 1,000 people living here. And there would have been some sort of back and forth with Surfside, with the developer, and hopefully, you know, there would have been an analysis of the plans with this. But maybe not, because as we understand it, you know, in this area, there are a lot of people who maybe live part-time, maybe they're not as invested. But I'm wondering if you had come across any sort of, I don't know, community meetings or association meetings that occurred even before the ground was broken. And we don't know, the building of this apartment may have nothing to do with the collapsing of the other one, but I'm just wondering if there was sort of any arguments back and forth about that.
So one of the complicating factors is that, as we know, Champlain Towers is in Surfside, but this larger and fancier building was actually in the city of Miami Beach. You know, this is like right on the border of these two municipalities. So they're actually not part of the same, they're not reporting to the same local government. And each government has different rules. In Surfside, I believe the buildings can only be 12 stories high. Miami Beach has a higher limitation. And so this new development, 87 Park, was taller than Champlain Tower. So that's one of the sort of you know, uneasy neighborly situations that we have here.
You were also part of an investigation into the structural engineer who performed the inspection in 2018 that found major structural damage in the condo building that collapsed. So what did you learn about the work he and his company did before the collapse?
So the engineer is Frank Morabito, and he came with very good references according to the public records that we looked at. He initially, the amount of money he was charging, folks who were involved in reviewing these bids had what they called sticker shock over the cost, but they came around. They thought he was someone who really was familiar with the building in part. Like you mentioned, he did that 2018 inspection that did find some problems. And so I think that the opposition to him had declined, though, you know, even as recently as April, when the Condo Association approved a $15 million assessment to pay for all these renovations, at that same meeting, there was a petition submitted by a couple dozen residents saying, you know, we think this is too expensive. So, you know, spending money on things like concrete restoration is difficult to persuade people to do that, because, you know, it doesn't mean the building's going to look prettier, doesn't mean the hallways are going to be more attractive, or there's going to be more lush landscaping. Like, this is, you know, brick and mortar kind of work that, you know, needed to be done, but obviously no one who lived in the building could ever contemplate that, you know, that something like this would happen. And to be clear, we don't know whether, even if the problems that Morabito had flagged had been repaired, if that would have prevented the building from coming down. We just don't know that at this point.
Some fascinating reporting. Beth Reinhard, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you.